It's time to talk about the Green Smurfs, also known as the Mushroom People of Warhammer Fantasy. Oh, fuck. I forgot they were called Greenskins.
After the
So, Greenskins, what are they? Well, they're a fungus. If anything, they're just normal orcs and goblins who only live to fight and destroy shit. Huh. Much like their Warhammer 40k counterparts. Now, many people consider these guys a scourge. If anything, they're just kind of like a tornado. They just appear in a moment to destroy everything that's in their way, and then they disappear just as quickly as they came. Now, Greenskins aren't as simple as just orcs and goblins. If anything, there's actually a lot of layers and divisions in their species, such as there is no such thing as just an orc. No, there's savage orcs, then there's regular orcs, then there's biggins, then there's black orcs. Same can be said with goblins. There's not just goblins. There's goblins, then there's night goblins, forest goblins, noblars, snotlings, and then the most infamous hobgoblin. So, how did they come to be in Warhammer Fantasy? Like, what the fuck are these orcs from Warhammer 40k doing in Warhammer Fantasy? Well, that is speculation. In fact, no one really knows, because this was before the time of any recorded history. One hand, according to the High Elves and the Lizardmen, the orcs were created by accident by the Old Ones. Now, that's kinda hard to say, because why would the Old Ones need this? They had the Lizardmen. They didn't need a destructive force. But then another one says that they came from space, which hints that Warhammer 40k is connected to Warhammer Fantasy somehow. Now, where did they really come from, though? Like, specifically, like, region-wise, where the fuck did they come from? Well, we know this. Humanity came from the north, lizards came from the west, dwarves came from the south. The only direction that's left is east, where China was. So, east is the direction we are looking at. So pretty much like your equivalent to Russia and Asia. So that's nice. They came from an interesting location. Now, no one knows how long they've been on the planet. That's the kicker. No one really knows how long. All we know is that in their region that they were living in, they were perfectly fine the way they were. Because mind you, orcs don't mind fighting. They don't even care who they're fighting as long as they're fighting. So, in that sense, they could just fuck right off and fuck each other, right? Well, the planet decided to pull some bullshit. For whatever reason, this was a really bad time to be on this planet. Because massive volcano eruptions occurred in the east. And the orcs found out that lava is rather hostile to their more or less well-being. So the Greenskins decided, fuck this shit, we're heading west, because at least those mountains aren't screaming in flames like these mountains. Now, most of the forces of orcs, Greenskins at this time were goblins. Why do I say this? Because when the orcs headed west towards the mountains, they ended up meeting the dwarves. And the dwarves called this the Goblin Wars, because that's what they mostly fought against, was goblins. Well, how did the dwarves fare in this war? Well, let's first take a little peek. I'll get into more detail about this in another video about the dwarves, but let's take a little peek before the orcs came. So the dwarves were barely recovering from their war with the elves, because they just fought a war against the high elves known as the War of the Beards. Now, this war was very taxing. But not only was it taxing, but as I said, the planet was fucking up really big during this time period. So the orcs had volcanoes. Now the dwarves had earthquakes. Now, earthquakes don't sound too bad, right? At least you're not burning instantly from lava. Actually, that's bad. Because, see, dwarves live underground. And hurricanes, the higher up you go into the sky, the worse the hurricane is. When the continent is literally fucking moving, it gets worse and worse the deeper you go down. Well, the orcs live pretty fucking deep in the ground, just like the dwarves. The only difference is that the orcs don't build cities underground. They just happen to be in a fucking tunnel and just kind of call it a home. They don't really stay there for very long. Dwarves make giant pillars, giant holds, giant cities underground. And they have very extensive mines. Which, by the way, this is how they took over a lot of dwarven cities, was a lot of the mine shafts were abandoned because the dwarves needed more and more dwarves to fight the high elves. Now, these mines being abandoned and all these holes in their infrastructure being unrepaired, at first no one really cared. It's like, fuck it, you know? What are the fucking high elves gonna appear out of our asses? Come on. What the fuck's gonna happen? Well, turns out something is much, much worse than a high elf. And they were about to find this out. So, orcs not only came in through the mines and also attacking them before they could really repair the damage done to their walls, but also Skaven were appearing. Oh, fucking shit. You cannot be serious. So now they're dealing with 2 attacks underground. Not their kind of forte. So they got technologically advanced Skaven who are smart, and then they're dealing with massive, giant, muscular fucking beasts who are just absolutely fucking retarded and only live to kill orcs. Yeah, this was not looking like a fight they would win. In fact, this was a fight where their goal was to just basically hold and try to survive the best they could. Now, mind you, they already lost most of their people during this war of vengeance, this war of the beards. So now they're fighting down on resources, because their resources were depleted, down on men, and now the dwarves were having very bad diplomatic issues with each other. So now, not only are they not talking to each other, but now they're dealing with this invasion of just limitless goblins and orcs. Oh boy, the dwarves really fucked themselves on this one. But again, you know, this wasn't something they could have prepared for. Now, the orcs fighting the dwarves, they got some really good tech. They got iron weapons, iron armor, and then dealing with the Skaven, they got some pretty cool gear out of it. Well, this war lasted for over quite a few hundred years. In fact, some say that it lasted up to 1,000 years. I actually believe that. That does sound feasible. Because these weren't all-out skirmish wars. No, these were jam-packed, in-tunnel wars where they would just sit there for years in the same tunnel. Same guys fighting different orcs and different Skaven every fucking year. Yeah, this was a slow, atrocious war. And the dwarves didn't really have any sustenance to keep this war going. This is why they lost a good half of their empire to this war. Now, the orcs, having gotten some holes in the dwarf defenses, the Greenskins decided, hey, there's land past the dwarves. Let's go into it. So they did. And this was actually a really bad thing for us, humans. Because, see, humanity was still hunter-gatherers at this time. There was, like, a few tribes that were starting to build, like, wooden walls, stuff like that. Nothing really sophisticated was coming. Well, we had bronze weapons. Guess what the orcs had? Iron, steel, all sorts of nice gadgets that they got from the dwarves. Yeah, they're stronger than us. They're more numerous than us. We don't have any technology to really pierce their armor. We don't have any fucking weapons that could pierce anything. And we don't have any armor to protect ourselves. Yeah, humanity was easily enslaved by the orcs. Now, slavery is kind of weird for the orcs because they just kind of take you. They don't have any real goals because they don't have genitalia, so they can't rape you. They can't use you as like sex slaves. But they don't really have a concept of currency other than teeth. So what would they do with you? Well, they kind of just kept you in cages and poked you and prodded you, and that's pretty much it. They would just torture you. Now, this wasn't malicious. This is just them getting a good fucking laugh out of seeing you scream. They thought it was fucking hilarious. Well, humanity was looking pretty bleak. Humanity was looking like it was about to go extinct before it could even begin. Well, all of a sudden, a fucking tribal by the name of Sigmar arises. And not only was he like superhuman in every way, some even argue that he's a Primarch, which again ties to Warhammer 40k. But he was able to actually push the orcs out. He was actually able to mobilize tribes and actually unite them into a force to be reckoned with. But these battles were very tolling, and it was very clear that yes, the orcs lacked any sort of leadership to give Sigmar a push out, but every orc tribe that Sigmar faced, just one tribe took a lot of men to destroy. So again, yeah, the orcs couldn't kill him out because they couldn't unite, but at the same time, humanity wasn't that big of a threat for the orcs to really give a shit about. The only threat at this time were elves and dwarves, and the elves were fucking off on their continent-sized island in the ocean, and they had magical barriers preventing orcs and goblins from getting in. So as far as the orcs and goblins cared, they ruled the world. They didn't care to do anything else. Well, this all changed for the worse. Because see, a dwarf king got captured by an orc. These sort of things happen every now and then. You know, you gotta take hold of a very important person every now and then. Especially when there's another important person named Sig fucking Mar who just happens to be around the area. Well, Sigmar not only kills the orc who did this, but really left an impression on this dwarf king. And this dwarf decided to ally with humanity and give them the technology and manpower they needed so fucking desperately to push the orcs out. So now humanity has iron and steel weapons. Now humanity understands how to use catapults and stuff like this. But now the dwarves have numbers. The dwarves have someone who they can actually use to ride horses and outmaneuver and catch the orc cavalry. Something that the dwarves could never do. Well, the orcs were starting to get the picture that maybe they're fighting a threat that needs to have some unity. And there was a climactic battle. And at this climactic battle, humanity and the dwarves absolutely fucking annihilated the orcs. And as of this moment, it actually almost destroyed the orcs, the Greenskins. In fact, to this day, their numbers are relatively unknown, but we do know this, is that the overall numbers of Greenskin population seem to bounce between near extinction, like when Sigmar kicked their asses out, and straight up overpopulation of the whole fucking world, like when they have a massive fucking walk. Now, how do the orcs fare with other races, you may think? Like, well, how do they get along diplomatically? Well, other races don't really know what to do, honestly. That's kind of like the hard thing. So the Wood Elves, their rangers may pick off an orc war boss who seems to care a lot about the forest of Athaloran. And that's nice, because then that just gets rid of the whole problem, because now the orcs disband since they don't have a leader. But on the other hand, a lot of races don't know what the fuck to do, because one hand, the orcs may attack a whole city and destroy it, but the problem is that an orc won't take any gold or genocide the citizens. They'll just destroy the walls and kill the defenders just for the sake of doing it, because it was a fight. But on the other hand, orcs may actually fight evil enemies that will actually help save humanity. Like Grimgor facing Archaon in the original End Times lore, where Chaos is a much harder to kill than normal man. Now, to us humans, if I can barely take on a 5'9" dude who weighs like my weight, I'm not gonna fuck with some guy who's like 6'6" and packed with muscle and has spiky bits all over his fucking shoulders. To an orc, he doesn't look at it that way. He looks at it and goes, bigger, tougher, might actually kill me? I'm gonna fucking beat the shit out of it. I'm gonna bend him over my fucking knee. I'm gonna give him a right spanking. That's what I'm gonna do. And that's what the fucking orc's gonna say his goal for his unnatural life, is to fuck up that chaos guy. So, again, when it comes to other races, it's hard to say. Like, one hand, orcs are obviously a destructive force of nature that do have their benefits. They will destroy a bad guy every now and then. But on the other hand, they're just a destructive force of nature that could literally annihilate whole empires if left unchecked. You guys tell me which one you think is better. So how do they reproduce? Like this population bounce limit from near extinction to overpopulation, like how the fuck does that work? What are they? Just one day they just don't feel like fucking for a whole 100 years, and then next day they just feel like fucking breeding like rabbits? Well, they don't have genitalia. So they're half animal and half fungus. So how do they reproduce? Well, everywhere they walk, their skin, which is green, which is the fungus part of them, exhibits a type of spore in the air that burrows underground. Now, deep underground forms an infant orc who grows up and then climbs up to the surface. Usually you'll see a mushroom pop out, then you'll see the head of the orc. This is how orcs really spread. This is why nowhere in Warhammer Fantasy is there not an orc. Now, typically, though, there's an order to which the orcs grow. I know that sounds weird, but if there's anything that makes sense, is the order in which these orcs come out of the ground. So first, you'll see mushrooms. And you'll think, oh, okay, I've never seen those mushrooms before. Oh, well. But then all of a sudden, you're going to see more mushrooms. You're going to be like, huh, that's a little fucking weird. Then next thing you know, a cave near those mushrooms has had sightings of squigs. Yeah, those little meatballs with teeth that could literally swallow a human whole. Yeah, those things are around. And you're going to start thinking, well, I've been on watch my whole life. I've never seen a squig herd come in and move into that cave. That's a little fucking odd. Then all of a sudden, snotlings are appearing. And these snotlings are cultivating the mushrooms. They're actually pooping on the shrooms to make them grow better. And then the squigs are being fed whatever the snotlings find, which is either the mushrooms or the snotling. Huh. That's a little strange. Then all of a sudden you got goblins popping up out of fucking nowhere. Now, snotlings on one lore source say that snotlings are just baby goblins. Another source says that they're some totally different. Again, depending what books you read, it's different. And with the whole Age of Sigmar thing, they say that snotlings are just baby goblins. I don't like that idea. I like to think that they're their own form of just retarded orcs. So I'm sticking to that. They're retarded orcs. So goblins start appearing. But here's the thing with goblins. They build shit. Snotlings just kind of go around and steal shit. They don't really understand what they're doing. They don't even have brain function. They just kind of do whatever the fuck they feel like. And they actually end up benefiting the squigs and the mushrooms. So now there's more squigs and mushrooms. But goblins, they don't do that. They build shit. And they build some interesting shit, to say the least. They'll build arrows, wooden shields, wooden weapons. They'll even build iron blades and daggers. But not only that, they're smarter. They're actually able to devise cunning strategies. Now all of a sudden they have a camp, they have feeding pens for the squigs, and they have cages for the snotlings to be in so they could feed the squigs. And now we're hitting the final stages. Orcs are going to start appearing out of nowhere. Now the orcs kind of take advantage of this, because orcs will boss everyone around, and they can utilize all the tools that this ecosystem just brought. So, with that being said, you can really say that if you want to stop orcs from popping up out of nowhere, you start with the root cause. If you see mushrooms, get rid of them. If you see squigs, start killing them. See snotlings, get rid of them as well. See goblins, you already might be too late. So how do these tribes work, though? How do these orc camps really function? Well, they're total anarchy. I am not joking. Whenever you see Sons of Anarchy, that's what they mean. This is a society run by might is right. If you are not strong, you ain't shit. If you are strong, you're the leader. Now, there's no such concepts as like contracts or friends. It's just simply, I'm stronger than you. Therefore, I get to say what is and what isn't. It's that simple. Now, you may be thinking, well, what is that supposed to mean? Well, here. If I am the orc chieftain, the orc war boss, I am allowed to say, this blade in my hand makes me faster. And you may think, well, that's fucking stupid. But then when I beat you over the head with one punch and it gives you a concussion, and I go, nope, you stupid. And then you get back up and you go, okay, I don't want another concussion. So yeah, I think it does make him faster because last time I checked, he didn't punch me that fucking fast. All of a sudden, he really is starting to get fast because of that blade. This is how orc society works. They believe in it, therefore it becomes true. But because the orc war boss is the strongest, he can say what is and what isn't. So really, he can determine where this energies go. Again, the orc doesn't realize this. They're too fucking stupid to realize this. But that's how it's actually working. It's a very masterful design. Now, who does the technology now? Because in Warhammer 40k, the technology is run by a specific breed of orcs. What about in this one? Well, technology is actually handled by goblins most of the time. Magic is done by the shamans. Now, magic doesn't mean just orcs and goblins. No, both species do magic. But technology is strictly usually handled by the goblins. Because orcs don't really give a shit about that type of thing. They really don't. But what kind of technology are you expected to see? Well, besides certain brews and certain rituals, goblins will actually invent some pretty crafty shit. Not gonna lie. Like, originally when they had chariots, originally what it was a wooden basket that an orc would stand on top of with a spear, and two pigs would just drag the basket and just see it slamming up and down against every fucking rock. And then the orc's just swinging away the spear or sword or whatever the fuck he's got. Well, a goblin decided one day, you know, boss, you might not be slamming against the ground and breaking the basket every now and then if we put wheels on the fucking thing. Now, the orc didn't like this. He said, that's a stupid idea. Killed the fucking goblin in one hit. Eventually, though, after enough goblins came around with this same idea, and after he got done killing enough of them, he started thinking to himself, you know what? I think if I put wheels on this chariot, the chariot might not break all the fucking time. And he took all the credit. This is how goblins invent technology. They come up with an idea. Either they're in a goblin society, in which case a goblin society will go, yeah, that's a fucking good idea, let's do it. But if they're in a normal society, an orc's going to beat him over the head and go, that's just stupid. And kill him. Oh, that's just stupid. Kill this guy too. That's just stupid. Kill this guy too. And eventually the orc's going to think, you know what? What if we did that thing that I killed all those guys over? Man, I'm such a fucking genius. And then they do it. Yeah. This society is far from freedom and much closer to oppressive as you can fucking get. Now, how is currency done? Well, they don't really see the value of gold. They actually do teeth, because their teeth degenerate really quickly once you take them out of their mouths. Once you tear a teeth out of an orc's mouth, it degrades very quickly, so this stops inflation. But the more orcs there are, the more money there is. So that means the orc war boss is the richest, no matter what. And speaking about money, you're probably thinking, how do they get jobs to get paid? Well, usually teeth is earned by just doing whatever the fuck you want, or whatever you can do to get teeth. But there are certain jobs that the war boss may actually assign you. Like he may assign you as a runt herder, which is basically a slave master. Now, you get paid in teeth whenever the war boss kind of remembers to pay you. But the payment is irregular at best, and if anything, the war boss may actually sit there and look at you, and you're broke as fuck, and he may expect you to pay him before he pays you. Yeah. These orcs aren't exactly intelligent, but at the same time, you can't really deny that they are assholes, to say the least. And in this society, though, overall, as stupid as the orcs may be, and as interesting as their history is in Warhammer Fantasy, just know that their society isn't uneven. It's not discriminatory like human society is. It's not discriminatory like elves, and it's not discriminatory like dwarves, but at the same time, it's not restricted like Britonia and the Lizardmen, where you're born in these classes. No. In orc society, anyone can rise to the top. Even a slave could rise all the way to war boss. He just has to prove his strength. Goblins lead orcs in camps by proving that they're conniving, evil sons of bitches. A human could theoretically whoop enough orc ass as a slave and rise all the way top to lead these orcs. Anyone can be the leader of an orc wog. They just have to prove their merit. They have to prove their worth. And with that, this has been Frieza 700. This is my longest video I've ever done. This is just an introduction into the orcs, or also known as the Greenskins, in Warhammer Fantasy. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I enjoyed doing this video. I just kind of got bored one day and decided to do some orcs, since I haven't done some orky boys in a long time. Again, I had a long day at work, so I just had a lot of time to do this video. I hope you guys enjoy. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you want to do next. And as always, see you guys next time.